Bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students. Send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
This week on Tech It Out, we explain how you can protect yourself from the SIM swap fraud. We tell you why it's not safe to charge your phone using a public USB charging station. And find out if it's right or wrong to convert a classic car into an electric vehicle. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
I waited a long time for this team up.
As Deadpool and Wolverine hit screens, we tell you everything about the most awaited Marvel release. Meet Pakistani actor and Barzakh star Sanam Saeed. And find out some lesser-known facts about Jennifer Lopez as she celebrates her birthday. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION E-Club.
Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One, and this is World DNA. Let's start with the headlines first. Rocket attack on football ground in Golan Heights kills 12, including children. Israel blames Hezbollah, vows to inflict heavy price on Iran-backed Lebanese group. Netanyahu to return back to Israel earlier following Golan Heights attack, says Hezbollah will pay a heavy price. Foreign Minister cautions approaching moment of an all-out war against Lebanon. Hezbollah denies involvement in attack. Lebanese government condemns attack. Israel strikes school in central Gaza, killing at least 30 Palestinians and injuring more than 100, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Rain fury turns Delhi in India's capital. 3 Indian Administrative Services aspirants die after flooding in Delhi coaching center basement. Donald Trump commits to strategic Bitcoin reserve at Nashville conference, says never sell your Bitcoin. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Japan as part of an Asia-Pacific tour aimed at shoring up alliances in the face of an increasingly assertive China. India's S. Jaishankar urges strong maritime code for South China Sea at East Asia Summit in Laos. The Indian men's hockey team makes a winning start to their campaign in Paris. The Tokyo Olympics bronze medalists need a late winner to beat New Zealand 3-2 in a thriller. And we start with a top story. West Asia is on the brink of a wider war, with at least 12 people, including children, killed in a rocket attack on a football field in Israel's Golan Heights. It is the deadliest strike on Israel since the start of the conflict in Gaza. Authorities say all those killed were aged between 10 and 20. Israel has blamed Hezbollah, an allegation outrightly denied by the Iran-backed militant group. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has cut short his foreign visit. He has made it clear that the country won't let the incident pass in silence.
מחבקים את העדה הדרוזית כולה.
Since I was updated about the disaster, I've been holding continuous security consultations, and I've directed that our return to Israel be brought forward. As soon as I arrive, I'll immediately convene the security cabinet. I can say that the state of Israel will not let this pass in silence. We will not overlook this.
לא נעבור על כך לסדר היום.
Israeli foreign minister said that the country was approaching an all-out war against Hezbollah in Lebanon. He underscored that Hezbollah crossed all red lines with the Golan Heights attack and has vowed a befitting response. The Israeli Defense Forces have already started preparations.
The IDF is currently holding a situational assessment, and we will prepare for a response against Hezbollah. We will finish our assessments and we will act.
This despite Hezbollah denying any responsibility for the strike. In a written statement, the Iran-backed Lebanese group said, and I'm quoting here, the Islamic resistance has absolutely nothing to do with the incident and categorically denies all false allegations in this regard. However, before reports of the strike emerged, Hezbollah had claimed responsibility for 4 other attacks, including one on military headquarters of the Hermon Brigade on the slopes of Mount Hermon, the base of which is around 3 kilometers from the football pitch. Meanwhile, Lebanon has commented on the incident, condemning all acts of violence and aggression against civilians. The Lebanese government said, and I'm quoting here, targeting civilians is a flagrant violation of international law and goes against the principles of humanity. It has called for an immediate cessation of hostilities. The United States, which has been leading diplomatic efforts aimed at de-escalating the conflict across the Lebanese-Israeli border, called the attack horrific. In a statement, the U.S. reassured Israel of its ironclad and unwavering support against all Iranian-backed terrorist groups, including Lebanese Hezbollah. And for more on this story, we are now being joined by Adrian Kamel. He is a fellow at Arabian Peninsula Institute and Middle Eastern scholar. Now, he's also the author of a forthcoming book, Hezbollah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Hezbollah has denied, Lebanon has condemned the attack. Hezbollah have not taken responsibility either. Israel's Foreign Minister Israel Katz has said that it is approaching an all-out war against Hezbollah and Lebanon. Now, how are things panning out? Do you think this is the most serious escalation we can see so far?
Yes, absolutely. This is by far the most serious escalation that we've seen. We've been climbing this escalation ladder for about 10 months now, and it always seemed like it was going to be one miscalculation away from turning into something really ugly. And this was always a two-front war, actually a multi-front war, Gaza to the south and Lebanon to the north. Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Israel from October 8th have been exchanging fire and climbing up this escalation ladder. Now, Hezbollah is now claiming to deny any involvement when before they were actually applauding it and claiming it. Earlier in the day, they had launched 30 rockets, and then another 10. And it's undeniable. This is a Falak 1 rocket that's straight from the Islamic Republic of Iran, and Hezbollah fired it. So I don't think there's any disputing who did it. Now, I think Hezbollah is trying to put the toothpaste back in the bottle, and that's difficult to do because now they realize that they made a mistake.
I know. And Netanyahu has said that he is ready to strike. He has outright said that, and he has cut short his trip to the U.S. Now, how are things looking for him on the domestic front as well? Now, he's, earlier, before this attack would have happened, would we have expected that kind of action from Netanyahu, that he'll go out and say he's ready for that? And how is the U.S. reacting to this?
Well, that's the interesting part because, part of this campaign, we see the military action, the bloodshed and all that, but also the other part of it is to create political instability within Israel. And it's and we see former leaders like Ehud Barak calling for a two-state solution immediately, peace on that northern border, peace, no more actions, when they're looking for kind of diplomatic solutions to a kind of military problem here. It's hard. to say where this goes from here. There's already been one targeted strike, I believe, in Tyre in response by Israel. But we'll see in the coming days how they respond. The U.S., as far as what the messaging will be from the U.S., it's going to be the same message. It's a weak message. It's saying, don't escalate, don't create a widening war. But the war's been widening with the same message. I mean, this is the definition of insanity, of saying and repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's just gotten worse.
Now that you mentioned Gaza as well, how do you think now will this event impact the ceasefire deal?
Well, Hamas already rejected Israel's revisions to any type of ceasefire deal. And I think at the end of the day, we have to remember that any type of ceasefire deal, it ultimately rests with Hamas. They hold the hostages. The hostages are leverage. And as long as they have that leverage, I don't see Hamas coming to any type of ceasefire deal. I think they will always kind of stall, regroup, and then replan and then attack.
Adrian Kamalov, thank you so much for joining us and giving your insights.
Thank you for having me again.
We'll move on now. At least 30 Palestinians have been killed and 100 others injured after Israeli airstrike hit a school housing displaced people in central Gaza. Israel said that it was targeting militants who were using the compound and that it had taken steps to reduce the risk to civilians. As per Gaza's Hamas-run government media office, 15 children and 8 women are among those killed in the strike in the town of Deir al-Balha. Now, Israeli Defense Forces in a statement said, and I'm quoting here, "This is a further example of the Hamas terrorist organization's systematic violation of international law and exploitation of civilian structures and population as human shields for its attack against the state of Israel." At least 11 people have been killed in other strikes on Saturday. Earlier, Israel's military ordered the evacuation of a part of a designated humanitarian zone in Gaza ahead of planned strike on Khan Yunis. The evacuation order was in response to rocket fire that Israel said originated from the area. The strike comes a day before officials from the U.S., Egypt, Qatar, and Israel are scheduled to meet in Italy to discuss the ongoing hostage and ceasefire deal. Moving on, in an unprecedented tragedy, at least 3 aspirants have lost their lives after a coaching center located in India's capital, New Delhi, was flooded due to heavy rain. Delhi Fire Department received a rescue call around 7 p.m. about the trapping of the 3 students due to flooding in the basement. The police reported that the basement, which hosted a library, got submerged, and as a result, about 35 students were trapped. The initial rescue was carried out with ropes, which was later taken over by the National Disaster Relief Fund team. The fire department also deployed water pumps to remove water from the basement. By midnight, the rescue teams had recovered the bodies of 2 female and 1 male student. The coaching center in question trained students for the Indian Administrative Services examination. New Delhi's Revenue Minister Atishi Marlena has directed the Chief Secretary to initiate an inquiry and furnish an incident report within 24 hours. A similar incident had taken place a year ago when another coaching institute had caught fire in the national capital. The incident has again raised questions about the safety and security of the students enrolled in Delhi's cram schools. And for more on this, we are now being joined by our correspondent, Dharamjot Kaur from New Delhi. Thank you so much for joining us, Dharamjot. The last time we talked, you talked about that there is a possibility of the number of bodies increasing. What is the latest you're picking up?
Well, Jyotsna, so far the official number stands at 3 at the moment. We're also hearing that the police has taken into custody 2 unnamed and unidentified people right now who have been accused in terms of the tragedy that unfolded here last evening. But as you can see behind me, massive protests are going on right now. A number of students have gathered over here They're demanding somebody from the Delhi government or the civil bodies to take some sort of responsibility, and that just an investigation is not enough. Somebody needs to be held accountable for the way the entire incident transpired yesterday. But the entire conversation about the number of bodies not being confirmed, that's still ongoing, because the students who are protesting over here, they're saying that there's more people, there were more bodies that left the coaching center late last night. So the official toll that we have is from 12 a.m. where the third death was confirmed. But students are saying that more have occurred. There are certain eyewitness accounts that are pointing towards ambulances that came in and took in a couple of more bodies. They're also demanding that the CCTV footage from the basement be released. But the important part here is, Jyotsna, that nobody from the Rao's Institute is present over here since last night. And so officials are saying that they're not being able to access the CCTV footage unless some personnel or employee of the coaching institute comes and gives them access. So this is where things stand at the moment, Jyotsna. A lot of chaos and action behind me, where protests are going on. A lot of accountability is being demanded, but very little is still known in terms of who or which body is responsible for the way this entire thing unfolded last evening.
All right, Hamjot, thank you for bringing us the latest. We'll, of course, keep tracking as we go forward. The U.S. has expressed its readiness to return to a nuclear deal with Iran. According to the Kuwaiti media report, citing a source from Iran's Supreme Council, the report claims that Biden administration informed Iranian authorities that it is ready to return to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. However, it says Washington is seeking minor amendments to the agreement. The source said that U.S. President would like to sign the agreement before his term expires. However, Washington wants Iran to comply with its obligations under the deal. Iran is adamant on including a number of restrictions in the accord that prevents U.S. from pulling out of the deal. Iran wants to avoid a flurry of sanctions that the Trump administration put on the country in 2018. The reports say Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and President-elect Masoud Pezeshkian have been informed about U.S.'s proposal. Iran is likely to issue a response after the Masoud Pezeshkian induction in the presidential office. The Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran nuclear deal, was signed by Iran, Germany, and 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council in 2015. In 2018, the Trump administration withdrew from the deal. In April 2021, Russia, Britain, Germany, China, the United States, and France entered negotiations with Iran. However, the talks remained inconclusive. Is football triggering the resurgence of COVID in UK? UK's National Health Services say a new variant of COVID is spreading fast in the country. Latest reports coming in say that the European Champions League has contributed to the spike in COVID cases. Nationwide gatherings in pubs and public spaces have led to the uptick in COVID numbers. The UK Health Security Agency reported the average daily cases have nearly doubled since the beginning of June, from 250 a day to 483. Nearly 3,000 patients were hospitalized in June. This number is significantly up from 1,878 patient admissions in May. A COVID wave driven by a new subvariant has spread through schools, workplaces, and crowds of football fans at the Euros. The strain has subvariants of the Omicron variant. Its symptoms resemble those of earlier variants, including fever, cough, fatigue, and digestive issues, with a heightened transmission rate. Preliminary research by the Infectious Diseases Society of America states that most common variants are mutations that can infect people who are vaccinated. Traffic on France's high-speed rail network is expected to return to normal services by Monday. This is according to its transport minister. A big crowd of people are still at various stations in the country waiting with their luggage and hoping to complete their journeys. French rail operators has reiterated that transport plans for teams competing in the Paris 2024 Olympics would be guaranteed. France's interior minister has not ruled out foreign involvement in the sabotage that spelled travel chaos on Friday, the opening day of the Olympic Games. Friday's pre-dawn attacks damaged infrastructure along the lines connecting Paris with cities such as Bordeaux in the west and Strasbourg in east. Another attack on the Paris-Marseille line was foiled. There has been no immediate claim of responsibility so far. On Friday, 100,000 people could not take their trains. Another 150,000 faced delays, but eventually got to their destinations. The SNCF said in a statement that traffic will remain disrupted on Sunday on the north axis, but should improve on the Atlantic axis for weekend returns. Two security sources have said that modus operandi meant initial suspicions fell on leftist militants or environmental activists. But they said that there was no evidence so far. While humans have long wondered whether there are others like us, it's only been a few decades since we have developed the technologies to search for life beyond Earth. NASA's Perseverance rover has found a rock that has some indications it may have hosted life billions of years ago on Mars. Take a look at this report.
NASA's Perseverance rover has drilled and stashed a piece vein-filled rock. Nicknamed Jayava Falls, the arrowhead-shaped rock is puzzling and complex. It contains fascinating traits on an enduring topic of scientific inquiry on the possibility of life on Mars. Inside the rock, the rover has detected organic compounds that are thought to be precursors to the chemistry of life. The veins of calcium sulfate suggest that water once ran through the rock. The rover also found millimeter-sized splotches, each surrounded by a black ring as a result of chemical reaction. These rings contain iron and phosphate that are also seen on Earth. But further research is needed to determine if ancient life is a valid explanation. Scientists hope the rock can be brought back to Earth in the coming years for more definitive answers. The big question is, how will the finding help prepare for human exploration of the Red Planet? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Whether you are a seasoned investor or you're just starting your investment journey, the markets at the moment can look quite daunting. Are stock prices too high? Are they at fair value? Or are they still trading at a discount? That's what our next report decodes for you.
The first half of 2024 has witnessed a bull run across global equities. This past week, Wall Street stocks continued to gain as the US PSE price index came in tamer than expected. European markets followed suit. British bank NatWest saw a notable 7% rise after reporting better than expected earnings, while autos recovered after Mercedes-Benz adjusted its profit margin forecast. Despite recent downturns, European equities showed improved performance from last week's lows. Asian stocks mostly rebounded, although Japan's Nikkei 225 fell for the 8th consecutive day. Commodities experienced mixed movements. US crude oil fell 1% on Friday, marking its third consecutive weekly decline. The sell-off was driven by weak Chinese demand despite robust US economic growth. Gold prices rose 1% as US Treasury yields fell, bolstering expectations for Federal Reserve rate cuts. Looking ahead, investors will focus on next week's Federal Reserve meeting, which could signal further rate adjustments. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's now get you some updates from the Paris Olympics. The Canadian women's football team has been deducted Now, 6 points have been deducted from their group in the Olympics. Coach Bev Priceman has been banned for 1 year, and a drone was used to spy on a rival team's training sessions. Now, FIFA sanctions come a day after Priceman was removed as Canada's Olympic head coach. New Zealand complained that Canadian staff flew drones over their training sessions before their opening fixture at the Olympics, which Canada won 2-1. 2 analysts of the Canadian team have also been banned. The points deduction does not eliminate Canada from the tournament. The team must win their 2 remaining games in Group A to stand a chance of advancing to the quarterfinals. Carlos Alcaraz made a winning start to his campaign on what was his Olympic debut. Second seed Alcaraz beat Lebanon's Houthi Habib 6-3, 6-1 in the first round. Spaniard Alcaraz comes into the tournament as the favorites for the men's single title after winning the French Open and Wimbledon titles over the last 2 months in the women's single event. Iga Swiatek has also had trouble getting past Romania's Irina Camelia Begu. The Pole was able to wrap up a 6-2, 7-5 win at Roland Garros. It was a good day for Indian shuttlers in Paris on Saturday. Lakshya Sen won his opening round clash in a men's single event by beating Guatemala's Kevin Cordon. The 2022 Commonwealth Games champion comfortably won the first set 21-8, but had to come back from 7-12 behind in the second to seal the victory. Meanwhile, medal contenders Satwik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty beat Francis Lucas Corvi and Ronan Labar 21-17, 21-14. The opening ceremony in Paris was enjoyed by World on Friday, but reigning Olympic high jump champion Gianmarco Tamberi will remember the day with mixed feelings. Tamberi had the honor of being Italy's flag bearer at the historic ceremony, but he lost his wedding ring as it slipped into the river Seine. Tamberi said his wedding ring bounced into the water in what he described as a few moments that lasted forever. He issued a profuse apology to his wife on Instagram. And that's all we could wrap up in World DNA. To stay tuned, news and updates will follow on the other side. You're watching WION World is One. Stay tuned.
The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit. Over 10,000 sportspersons are descending on Paris to realize their dreams.
The Olympics is a sweet way, but it comes with pressure.
The Olympic Games are the pinnacle of sport, and they demand sacrifices from both sportspersons and those covering it. I'm Digvijay Singhdeo, and I will be tracking the best in sport over the next 3 weeks from here in Paris.
Can India's sporting stars double their tally from Tokyo? Will new stars emerge, or will sport's big names maintain their stranglehold? Watch Gunning for Glory through the Paris Olympics at these times on WION.
This week on the West Asia Post.
We want liberty!
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sparks protests and boycotts as he arrives in the US to seek support for the war in Gaza. Questions loom over Gaza's future as Palestinian rivals agree to form a unity government. Israeli forces strike Yemen's oil port city, triggering fresh fears of a wider conflict. Also on the show, a polio outbreak in the Gaza Strip and an assassination attempt on a former Iranian president.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
Europe tries to nip the migration menace in the bud at a forum in Libya, with the Italian Prime Minister warning people facilitating what she termed desperation of the fragile North Africans. Cameroonian LGBTQ+ rights group praises the courage of Brenda Biya, the daughter of Cameroon's president, for announcing she is in a same-sex relationship on social media. And suffering frequent war-triggered 15-hour power outages, Sudanese people escaped to the beach as temperatures soar in the coastal city of Port Sudan. World of Africa at these times on WION. World is One.
I waited a long time for this team up.
As Deadpool and Wolverine hit screens, we tell you everything about the most awaited Marvel release. Meet Pakistani actor and Barzakh star Sanam Saeed. And find out some lesser-known facts about Jennifer Lopez as she celebrates her birthday. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION E-Club.
This week on Inside South Asia, another plane tragedy in Nepal. Why is the country unable to make its biggest airport and planes safer? Nipah, Zika and Chandipura. Amidst monsoon seasons, India grapples with 3 deadly viruses. After a week of deadly job quota protests, blame game takes center stage in Bangladesh. All this and much more on Inside South Asia.
Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Chan. Now let's start with the headlines. Rocket attack on football ground in Golan Heights kills 12, including children. Israel blames Hezbollah, vows to inflict heavy price on Iran-backed Lebanese group. Netanyahu to return to Israel earlier following Golan Heights attack, says Hezbollah will pay a heavy price. Foreign Minister cautions approaching moment of an all-out war against Lebanon. Hezbollah denies involvement in the attack. Lebanese government condemns the attack. Israel strikes school in central Gaza, killing at least 30 Palestinians and injuring more than 100, according to the Hamas-run health ministry. Rain fury turns deadly in India's capital. 3 Indian Administrative Services aspirants die after flooding in Delhi coaching centre basement. Donald Trump commits to strategic Bitcoin reserve at Nashville conference, says never sell your Bitcoin. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in Japan as part of an Asia-Pacific tour aimed at shoring up alliances in the face of an increasingly assertive China. India's Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar urges strong maritime code for South China Sea at East Asia Summit in Laos. Reigning women's football champions Canada are deducted 6 points from their Olympics group. Coach Bev Priestman has been banned for 1 year after a drone was used to spy on a rival team's training sessions. West Asia is on the brink of a wider war, with at least 12 people, including children, killed in a rocket attack on a football field in the Israeli Golan Heights. Now, it is the deadliest strike on Israel since the start of the conflict in Gaza. Authorities say all those killed were aged between 10 and 20. Israel has blamed Hezbollah, an allegation outrightly denied by the Iran-backed militant group. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has cut short his foreign visit to the US. He has made it clear that the country won't let the incident pass in silence.
Since I was updated about the disaster, I have been holding continuous security consultations, and I have directed that our return to Israel be brought forward. As soon as I arrive, I'll immediately convene the security cabinet. I can say that the state of Israel will not let this pass in silence. We will not overlook this.
Israeli Foreign Minister said that the country was approaching an all-out war against Hezbollah and Lebanon. He underscored that Hezbollah crossed all red lines with the Golan Heights attack and has vowed a befitting response. The Israeli Defense Forces have already started preparations.
The IDF is currently holding a situational assessment, and we will prepare for a response against Hezbollah. We will finish our assessments and we will act.
This despite Hezbollah denying any responsibility for the strike. In a written statement, the Iran-backed Lebanese group said, and I'm going to quote here, "The Islamic resistance has absolutely nothing to do with the incident and categorically denies all false allegations in this regard," quote unquote. However, before reports of the strike emerged, Hezbollah had claimed responsibility for 4 other attacks, including one on military headquarters of the Hermon Brigade on the slopes of Mount Hermon, the base of which is around 3 kilometers from the football pitch. Now, Lebanon has commented on the incident, condemning all acts of violence and aggression against civilians. The Lebanese government said, and I'm going to quote, "Targeting civilians is a flagrant violation of international law and goes against the principles of humanity." It has called for an immediate cessation of hostilities. The United States, which has been leading diplomatic efforts aimed at de-escalating the conflict across the Lebanese-Israeli border, called the attack horrific. In a statement, US reassured Israel of its ironclad and unwavering support against all Iranian-backed terrorist groups, including Lebanese Hezbollah. The US Central Command has sounded alarm bells over the uptake of Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. Now, on Friday, the United States said it destroyed 6 Houthi drones across Yemen. Separately, the US forces engaged and destroyed 3 Houthi uncrewed aerial vehicles along the coast of Yemen. In a statement, the US said the weapons presented an imminent threat to United States coalition forces and to the merchant vessels in the region. The latest developments come after Israeli forces struck Yemen's oil port city of Hodeidah last week. Houthi rebels responded by launching drones at Israel's Eilat city. Houthis vowed a major escalation after the Hodeidah city was set ablaze by Israeli jets. Group leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi has vowed to retaliate via a joint operation with the Islamic resistance in Iraq.
The Islamic resistance in Iraq announced the execution of several operations in Haifa and al-Rashrash using a new advanced missile. The joint part between the Yemeni army and the Islamic resistance in Iraq will witness, God willing, a significant development in joint operations in the upcoming phase.
The UN Special Envoy to Yemen, Hans Grunberg, said the recent developments in the Red Sea and the surrounding waterways suggest that the Houthis are a major threat to international shipping.
"7 months of an escalatory trajectory reached a new and dangerous level last week. I am deeply concerned by the recent military activities in the region, including a drone attack on Tel Aviv by Ansar Allah on 19th of July and the subsequent Israeli retaliatory attacks on Hodeidah port and its oil and power facilities on the 20th of July. I remain deeply concerned about the continued targeting of international navigation in the Red Sea and its surrounding waterways. Recent developments suggest that the threat against international shipping is increasing in scope and precision."
Amid the non-stop Israeli assault on Gaza, a recent poll suggests that Israelis prefer Benjamin Netanyahu as the prime minister. According to the survey by N12, Netanyahu is outperforming his main rivals for premiership in a head-to-head comparison. Now, the survey also reveals majority of respondents feel the return of the abductees is more important than achieving complete victory over Hamas. It shows 62% respondents favor a hostage deal over total victory in the Israel-Hamas war. And as many as 51% respondents believe the main reason behind delay in peace deal is due to Netanyahu's political considerations here. The survey further indicates that Netanyahu is the most favored prime ministerial candidate. Netanyahu has received 36% support compared to Lapid and Gantz, who stand at 28%. And as many as 33% Israelis favor him as compared to Bennett, who received 32% votes. Now, when it comes to Netanyahu's speech at the US Congress, respondents had a split opinion. 38% respondents say they felt proud. 27% expressed disappointment, while 18% had mixed feelings about it. Moreover, the speech did little to convince Israelis. 65% respondents. They said that their opinion on Netanyahu remained unchanged. Only 15% say their opinion changed. Now, the latest poll indicates a departure from polls from earlier this month, which showed Bennett led a unified anti-Netanyahu right-wing party, which